All praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Rakah Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elect to the nation of Israel. This is going to be another video exposing the wickedness of the Caucasian man, alright, and who's really the Edomite, and going into how if these people did this to us, right, then why are we then to believe these people or look to these people to tell us whether we are or whether we are not Israelites? And you've got this conscious community people and all that, right, who are desiring to debate people and like bringing people like Volkan Malone and all that. And then Volkan Malone's whole is speaking to these people and saying, oh, you don't want to believe these Hebrew Israelites. He's pretty much saying things like, you don't want to believe these Hebrew Israelites because they want to enslave Egyptians, right? Knowing full well that he doesn't even believe that Sarnetta is an Egyptian. You know what I mean? He don't even believe that Sarnetta is really an Egyptian. If we was to say to him, who are the Egyptians, would you think Volkan Malone is going to say that we're the Egyptians? I don't think so. But his whole thing when he was trying to please Sarnetta and weasel his way in among him, right, to try and deceive more Israelites, was that he was saying that Hebrew Israelites want to enslave Egyptians, and if that's his real focus and why he has got a problem with the Hebrew Israelites, his real problem with the Hebrew Israelites is that we want to enslave his people, the Edomites. That's his real problem. He don't care nothing about the Egyptians, man. If we were saying that the people that he said that, if we were saying that so-called black people are the Edomites, he wouldn't have no problem with the doctrine, man. He'd probably send in a super chat, to be honest with you. He'd find a way to donate money. It says Congolese teen why a zoo took 114 years to apologize. Otta Benga was kidnapped from what is now the Democratic Republic of Congo in 1904 and taken to the US to be exhibited. Now, that's not that long ago, man, right? That's not that long ago. If you've got a grandparent, right, their mom would have been alive at this time, more than likely. If you're in your like 30s or 40s, your grandparent's mother would have been alive at this time. So this could have been your grandparent's mom or your grandparent's brother, right? Your grandparent's mother's brother or uncle or something like that. It could have been that. Your grandmother's uncle or aunt or mother. That's how long ago this is. It's not long ago at all, right? Otta Benga was kidnapped from what is now the Democratic Republic of Congo in 1904 and taken to the US to be exhibited. Journalist Pamela Newkirk, who has written extensively about the subject, looks at the attempts over the decades to cover up what happened to him. So they exhibited an Israelite man in a zoo, right? That's what they did, and they wouldn't have exhibited him in the zoo if there wasn't people that wished to see him exhibited in the zoo. You understand? So they put a human in a zoo. And we're supposed to believe that these same people that did this to us, right, 119 years later, is going to want us to be the Israelites? Of course they're not going to, man. Of course they're not going to believe that we're Israel. So, but going to them to say whether we're Israelites or not is stupid, because they didn't even used to try and treat us like we was humans at all. And I did a video previously about a pamphlet that I saw, a 50-page article on the internet, which is called The Negro, What is His Ethnological Status? And then it's got subheadings and it says, is he a Hamite? Is he a descendant of Adam and Eve? Or is he a beast? Does he have a soul? You know? What is his relationship in regards to the white race? These are some of the things that it said in the pamphlet, and this was made in 1867. So not that much before this took place. But the fact that they was pushing out things according to that pamphlet in 1867, where they were saying that we ain't even humans and that we're just animals, that can mimic, we're the highest form of monkey that can mimic human sounds, and that's why we can interact with other humans, right? Of course, they're gonna try and put people in a zoo because they don't even think that we're human. They was viewing, right? They was viewing this Israelite man and this monkey as exactly the same, but they was viewing the Israelite man as, oh, he's an upgraded form of monkey, and that's the kind of doctrine that they was trying to push out there, man. That's what they was trying to push out. Even though the same Bible that we read now clearly mentions that the Israelites are dark-skinned in there, and we've read them scriptures. We've read them scriptures, man. But these are the same people now trying to talk about some John 3:16, and you got a guy like Volkan Malone running all over the earth, trying his best to try and keep you Israelites wanting to just be black, man, or wanting to be Egyptians, when he don't even believe that you're really the Egyptians anyway. But he'll play on your emotions and try and come up with a doctrine as if he already don't know that all the people in the conscious community, that we know that they're Israelites really, but they're just going off. And that we know, and it's as if he don't know that we believe that they're going to have to die gruesome deaths and then come back in the kingdom of heaven, and they're going to have a guy like Volkan Malone in slavery. And he knows that, but he's not going to push that out when he's talking to them, is he? Because he wants to try and keep it as a thing where, oh, I got to shut these people down, man. And he was even going into the thing that I saw with his interview with Sarnetta recently, and he was like saying to him, Sarnetta said, why did you get into this going against the Hebrew Israelites so hard, man? Because I see you everywhere going into them, going in on them and all that. And he said that some close friends of his started leaving what they was about and getting into that. And you know that hurt his soul, because you know Volkan Malone, for those people that don't know, that guy thinks he's some kind of rapper, and his flow's trash, by the way. And I ain't no smooth rapper, but I know what a good rap sounds like, and it don't sound like anything he was doing. I'll tell you that. It don't sound like anything that was coming out of his mouth with his fake ass spoken word and all that, man. And just the fact that he used to rap as well shows that he really wishes that he was an Israelite, man. Because where's he learn to like rap music from? Who made that? Let me carry on reading this. It says, more than a century after it drew international headlines for exhibiting a young Israelite man. I ain't calling us that, man. A young Israelite man in the Monkey House, the Bronx Zoo in New York, has finally expressed regret. And that's why it's spiritual, man, because in New York, they used to try and treat us like garbage. But that's the same place in the world that Yahweh made the truth come from, man. That's where One West is. That's where that's where the hive of where the truth came out of, man, and spread from there throughout the rest of the earth, man, from New York. So that's quite spiritual, man. Has finally expressed regret. The Wildlife Conservation Society's apology for its 1906 exhibition of Eta Benga, a native of Congo, comes in the wake of global protests prompted by the videotape police killing of George Floyd, that again shone a bright light on racism in the United States. And that's a stain on America, man. They're never going to be able to get over the fact that they're never going to be able to hide the fact that they do all of this stuff to us, man. That they did all of this. They're never going to be able to just make out like hard work pays off. That, oh, we just form this society based off hard work, grease and oil. No, you got this society that you have by 400 years of slavery and rape, robbery, murder, and not just slavery. It wasn't just that you was making these people work for you and not paying them. No, you beat them to death. You R-worded them, R-A-P-E-D, right? You made sure that they don't know their nationality, right? You did worse than what the Greeks did when they Hellenized the Israelites, because you beat them to a pulp to where you made them not even think that they were human. You was telling them people now, you can't just, like the Greeks, they said to the Israelites, you can't even profess yourself at all to be a Jew. But you Edomites did worse than your forefathers, because you said that they ain't even human. Oh, they're only 2/3. Oh, they're only 2/5 or 3/5 of a human being. So they look like us, right? But they're not really a human though. They sound like they're speaking English, or they sound like they're speaking human languages, but no, they're just imitating human sounds, right? And you'd put them in a zoo and then have people come in there like how they do with apes and monkeys in the zoo, man. Which even that's going off. Because the animal's supposed to have freedom to roam the earth, man, in its own habitat. Let's carry on, and we're supposed to believe that these people now when it comes to are we the Israelites, we're supposed to see them say, yeah, you are the Israelites. Of course they're not going to want to believe that, because it's only been 119 years since that took place. Most people, if you like what 30 or 40 years old, if you're 30 years old, then maybe your parents are in their 50s, right? They're mid to late 50s, or they're early to late 60s. If you're 40 years old, then your parents might be in their like 60s or 70s. If you're 50 years old, then your parents will be in their what, like 80s or 90s years old, if they're even alive, man. And some people might have a grandparent that might have lived to like almost 90 years old. So their brother or sister might have been older than them by 20 years and might have been alive when this stuff was taking place, man. 1904, 1906 is not long ago. 1867 is not that long ago, man. At all. And these are the kind of things that you people is doing, and we're supposed to believe you now when you say, oh, we're Hamites. No, because before you didn't even want that to be our nationality. Or we're supposed to believe you when you say, oh, you're Canaanites now. No, because you've always continually kept trying to change what you're prepared to call us. So it's not for you to decide what we are. It's for us to find out who we are. And we know that we're the Israelites, man, and we're never going to stop believing that. Psalm chapter 83 and verse 2, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They was putting them in zoos, man. You know how demoralizing that will be to be in a zoo. To be in a zoo, bro. It's already demoralizing enough when these boxers have to get down in their boxer shorts and get on the weight scales, right? And then get knocked, and then weigh themselves in and then get knocked out and get their brain shaken about like some jelly in a glass container while they're getting punched in the head by an expert at pugilistic arts, right? It's already demoralizing when that happens, and then they're a meme for the next couple of weeks. But how much more people putting you in a zoo? And then they was probably asking, oh, what does he eat? Oh, what does he eat? Well, it's a human, dumbass. The same shit as you. And people was coming to see it, man. Because otherwise they wouldn't have kept him in there. They have taken crafty counsel. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. So they didn't want us to be Israelites. Then when we didn't believe that we were Israelites no more, they wasn't happy with that, right? So they was like, you know what? I'm not even sure that these people came from Adam and Eve. How did they get on the ark then? Oh, they must have came on the ark as beasts. Noah must have brought them on the ark as some kind of beast, some kind of upgraded monkey. You know? That's the kind of things they was trying to say, man. Trying to project how they feel about themselves onto us, because they know that really they was the ones that was grunting and all that, like cavemen. And that they was the ones that really had an overgrowth of hair all over their body, right? And that they look like those caveman images. But they try and push that on us, man. In times past, us Israelites, we know that Yahweh cursed them with an extra extreme overgrowth of hair to where they look like those caveman images that they try and those monkey images that they try and push on us. But when you're a loser, in order for you to feel great, you can't be in front of no Israelites as they are in their natural state. So you'd have to destroy them. Otherwise, you're going to continually have a reminder of how much of a piece of garbage you really are. And even still, they're not just comfortable around us, man. And that's why all these celebrities, they have to always make them do some freaky stuff to get that money so that they can feel confident in front of them. Because if they just made these Israelites use their talent and get wealth without doing that wickedness, then these Israelites would still have some kind of moral code about them. So they use that fame industry to destroy Israelites, man. Because they destroy the person that gets the fame, and then they make him do wickedness. And because other people want to copy and emulate that person's life, they end up destroyed. Because they end up going in the same way as what that person's did. who's destroyed. Verse 5, they have consulted together with one consent, they are confederate against thee, the tabernacles of Edom, and that's our main enemy, man. A lot of people think that they've got enemies in this world. No, the Israelites and Edomites have been enemies while they wasn't even born yet, man. In a womb, there was enemies. There was fighting from the womb, man. That's a real enemy. The Israelites and the Edomites are never gonna get along, man. There's never gonna be an enemy that's gonna rise up, and the Israelites are gonna have to go in a tag team match and fight against that enemy. Nah, that's never gonna happen. The Edomites are the Israelites' main enemy, and as long as they still exist, right, the Israelites will never be in a complete state of peace, man. Because even when we had the Edomites in slavery during the time of King Solomon, right, it still went bad, man. It still went bad. Let me carry on reading this. During a national moment of reckoning, Christian Samper, the Wildlife Conservation Society's president and CEO, said it was important to reflect on WCS's own history and the persistence of racism in our institution. And that's, mate, there's a persistence of racism in your whole society, man. But now somehow Edomites are complaining about racism on themselves when they're the ones that are doing all the things to everyone, man. They're the ones that have got they ain't suffering racism, because if they was, they wouldn't have the power to go over to other people's countries and try to get them to perform LGBT over there and legalize it. They wouldn't have the ability to have the power to do that, or to be able to tell countries, don't open up your country, close it down, and because we're scared that there's a disease going around. They wouldn't be able to do that if there was such racism, you know. They wouldn't be able to question or ask whether they think they should be able to or should not be able to give reparations, because they wouldn't have any power. They wouldn't be in the power to question that kind of stuff. They're people that would just be oppressing them and doing whatever they want to do. Here we go. It says, he was a zoo employee. Instead of capitalizing on the episode as a teachable moment, the Wildlife Conservation Society engaged in a century-long cover-up during which it actively perpetuated or failed to correct misleading stories about what had actually occurred. As early as 1906, a letter in the zoo archive reveals that officials, in the wake of growing criticism, discussed concocting a story that Otter Benga had actually been a zoo employee. Remarkably, for decades, the ruse worked, and that's what these devils always do, and that's why they got him to force him through fear, more than likely, to probably take pictures like this, and they probably laughed at the picture too, but they tried to make it be a picture to try and be like, oh, no, he works for us. No, he's not. He's not on an exhibit. No, he just works with them. He just works within the monkey exhibit. He's not an exhibit in the exhibition, and it worked for decades, man. Just like how the lies that the Esau's told about us have worked for decades. They used to say we wasn't humans, right? Now all of a sudden, they're not saying that no more like that. Now they're trying to say, oh, you are humans, but you just not the Israelites though, right? Then they're saying, oh, no, the salvation is for everybody. They're always continually trying to change whatever they say based on how much we know. And that's what you'll notice with these Edomites, man. They change what they say based on what we know. And that's what Vocab Malone does, man. And that guy's a real demon, you know. Right? People will say, oh, he'd say, if he was talking to him, oh, how comes you're calling me a demon? I haven't insulted you guys once. You have insulted us because you call us Africans. You are insulting us, man. You're insulting us when you say that we're not the Israelites. That's insulting to me. I find that very insulting, man. Because who do you think you are to try and tell us who we are according to the Bible? Whenever I asked you what your Bible nationality is, you wouldn't be able to tell me who you think you are. You'd say, I don't know. I'm a Gentile. But that's not very specific, is it? So you think you've got the skill to tell somebody else who they are according to the Bible, right? And you're always talking about get your DNA out and all this. Can you prove it? Can you prove it? How comes you're so good at proving that we ain't the Israelites, but you're not good at proving who you are? According to the Bible, who are you? Which one of the 18 nations do you go back to? vocab, Malone? What's your Bible nationality? You've got all this mouth to be questioning who we are. Oh, you ain't the Israelites. You're Hamites, right? Well, prove who you are according to the Bible, man. Can you prove who you are according to the Bible? Because if you can't prove who you are according to the Bible, right, then don't be asking us to prove who we are according to the Bible, because that would make you a hypocrite, right? That would make you a hypocrite. And even when Sarnett asked him in that interview, he said to him, how comes you're not an Israelite? Because the Messiah was an Israelite, right? And he started fumbling all over the place, coming up with some answer that he's crafted over the years and all of this, right? But the salvation is only for Israelites. And if Sarnetta knew the scriptures more, he would have said, but the Messiah said he's only coming for the lost sheep of the house of Israel, right? The new covenant says that it's only for the house of Israel, right? So that means it's not for you then, if you ain't an Israelite. But that's the thing with these Christians. They want to try and tell us who we ain't with the Bible, right? But they won't use the same measures that they use to say that we ain't the Israelites for anybody else. They won't use that for the people in the land. Any random Chinese looking person or any Ethiopian person can just say that they're an Israelite and they'll be believed. And you'll notice this. They'll be believed. They won't ask for no proof. Any Caucasian person with a little tea cozy thing on their head can say that they're an Israelite. And people just believe that, oh yeah, that makes sense. I'm comfortable with that idea. So they'll be like, okay. They won't say what tribe you're from, prove it. They won't ask for they'll even accept their person saying, oh, my mother's an Israelite, but my father's not though. My father's just German, but my mother's an Israelite. We do it from the mother's side over here. They'll accept that, and these will be people that are supposed to be people that believe in the Bible, man. Jokers. Who was Otto Benga? Captured in March 1904 by US trader Samuel Werner from what was then Belgian Congo. His age is not known. He may have been 12 or 13, which more than likely he was probably even younger than that, man. Right? Probably like 10, 11 or something like that, more than likely. Because what this world tries to always do as well is tries to age us more than we are. You know, they always try and add extra 8 years onto our lives so that they can be justified in the evil that they do to us, man. Taken by ship to New Orleans to be shown later that year at World's Fair in St. Louis with 8 other young males. So it wasn't just him. It wasn't just him. But these devils wouldn't say, you know what, this is Deuteronomy 28. They'd say, nah, this can't be a Deuteronomy 28:68 scenario. Nah, they'd say, nah. They'd say, nah, mate. But you can't see this kind of... When did this happen to them people that are calling themselves the chosen in the land of Israel, man? When did this kind of stuff happen to them? What was they doing in 1904 and 1906? You know what I mean? When have they ever went through this kind of stuff, man? The fair continued into the winter months, where the group was kept without adequate clothing or shelter. Of course they're gonna do that because they're demons, man. Of course Esau's gonna do that. In September 1906, he was exhibited for 20 days in New York's Bronx Zoo, attracting huge crowds. So people went there. People went, man. Of course people went, because if people wasn't going to go, then they wouldn't have did it in the first place. Because they knew that was something that these devil Edomites wanted to see, man. Outrage from Christian ministers ended his incarceration, and he was moved to New York's Howard Colored Orphan Asylum, run by African-American Reverend James H. Gordon, which more than likely wouldn't have been telling them the truth according to the Bible anyway. That would have been some of that they're using to teach that plantation Christianity, as Apostle Tahar calls it. In January 1910, he went to live at the Lynchburg Theological Seminary and College for Black students in Virginia. He taught neighborhood boys how to hunt and fish and told stories of his adventures back home. He later reportedly became depressed with his longing for home, and in March 1916 shot himself with a gun he had hidden, and he was thought to be aged around 25. And really, of course he was going to think like that, because he was remembering how He got stolen from his land, brought to a place that's the most wicked place on earth. Whether people want to talk about how much money it's got and all of that, it's still wicked though. And he was remembering how he was in a zoo, man. And he would have remembering you devil's faces and how you would have been looking at him. And that would have bugged him out, man. He probably used to have nightmares about that, man. He probably used to have nightmares about the way how he was treated, man. About the way how he's seen people pointing at him and laughing at him. Where he wasn't experiencing none of that stuff. Or his life was better than, he was getting better treated than he was there anyway. Which is like what happened to us as Israelites on a mass scale. But now, because we can play basketball, or because we can box, or because we got some money in our pockets, all you devils try and think that means, it's justified and okay, yeah, we've got money in our pockets and all of that, more than we had before. But so what, man? We're morally destroyed. We're morally destroyed now. And we don't have no community or none of that. We don't have a society of our own, right? It's better to have a society of your own that you're in control of than to be a slave in somebody else's one. It's better for that, to be honest with you. Otto Benga pictured at the World's Fair in 1904, where he and others were exhibited as pygmies. So they had them in slavery, man, in a zoo. They had the Israelites in slavery in a zoo. But what's Volker Malone got to say about that? Oh, it's not all. He'd say, it's not all. Well, it wasn't okay. It wasn't all people that went over there and put them in the zoo. But how many people came to watch it though, and came to see? How many? And how many different cases of this has happened that wasn't published for public consumption to read about on the BBC news media outlet? How many? Mukam, man. Then in 1974, William Bridges, the zoo's curator emeritus, claimed that what actually occurred could not be known. Let me read up from the top. The account, of course, contradicted the numerous articles that a decade earlier had appeared in newspapers across the country and in Europe. The New York Times alone had published a dozen articles on the affair. The first under the 9th September 1906 headline, Bushman shares a cage with Bronx Park apes. So that's what they was calling us, apes. You understand? So these same people that used to find it acceptable to call us apes, you think that they're going to find it acceptable now to call us the best thing that you can possibly be on the earth, which is an Israelite? Which, if it's not the best thing to be an Israelite on the earth, then why the hell are all you Christians continually trying to be this Israel of God for? Why are you making up that you're the Israel of God when you're not even an Israelite in the first place? Some of you Christians ain't even from Abraham in the first place, but a lot of you are, because you go back to Esau. Vocab Malone's one. And he wishes he was an Israelite, man. He wishes he was an Israelite. He wishes he could rap, you know? But he can't rap, though. He can't, and that's why he was so bugged out when Kanye West said that he's an Israelite, man. That's why he was bugging out over that. He probably owned every Kanye West album. He probably owned every Kanye West album that he ever dropped, man. He's probably a big fan of Kanye if he wanted to be a rapper. If he thought he could rap. How much higher can you get in rap than Kanye? Let me see what more I can bring from this. I am going to read that bit. Try and make out like, he was a good, the person that put him in slavery was a good man. That's what you devils always say. But let's see if you're going to be saying that we're good men when we've got you in captivity then. Tell us that we're good men and that this is civilizing you when you're in captivity. Then maybe we'll believe you. Daniel chapter 7 and verse 27. And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness under the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominion shall serve and obey him. And that same man, Otto Benga, that shot himself due to depression, man, right? He's going to be in the kingdom of heaven, and he's going to be owning owning Edomite slaves and heathen slaves, man, of all nations that are not Israelites, right? So, and some of them are going to look like so-called black people. And what, man? They're not Israelites, so they're going into slavery. Like, I don't understand what people find so deep about that. It's not nothing for us to be scared to talk about. If a person's not an Israelite, they're going into captivity. And saying that the Egyptians, Volker Malone was saying, oh, the Israelites want to enslave Egyptians. Has he not read the Bible? Did the Egyptians not have the Israelites in slavery for 400 years? So why would it be a big deal if the Israelites wanted to enslave the Egyptians? I don't get it. They caused a lot of oppression to our people, man. A lot. So why would that be such a big deal? When they keep a whole Passover that celebrates when they escaped from Egypt, but that same time, loads of Egyptians was dying at that time too. So why would it be a big deal if Israelites wanted to enslave Egyptians? Why would it be such a hard thing for him to grasp? I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense, man. Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 1. For Yahweh will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land. And the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place. And the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of Yahweh for servants and handmaids. And they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. Right, we're going to rule over these same people that right now are saying that we ain't the Israelites, and they're thinking that they can tell us who we are or who we ain't. But if you tell them to pick up the Bible and show who they are according to the Bible, they can't do it. So how are they able to so with such great strength try and tell us who we are when they ain't even 100% certain with the Bible who they are? We can look at prophecy to show who we are, and we can look at prophecy definitely to show who the Edomites are, because they're our main enemy. They're the people that are always going to be against us no matter what. They're going to be our worst enemy on the earth. So if we are the Israelites, then that just based off that prophecy alone about how the Edomites have always hated the Israelites, it's obvious who the Edomites would have to be. It's obvious. And then when you throw in all the other things, like how their blessing is the sword, like how they're red, like how they steal people's lands, right? Like how they're the wicked that the Bible speaks of, and that they change times and they change kinds, that they steal his heritage, well, that just puts it even more in depth. And then when you link them to Babylon the Great and how they're going to suffer the same judgment as Babylon the Great, it's even more clear. But these Christians don't know anything, man, and they would rather us be in captivity and be like this still, man. They want us to be back like this in zoos. So they ain't going to believe that we're the Israelites, because they used to think that this is us, man. They used to want us to be like this. So they're never going to want to believe that we're the Israelites. Never in their life, man. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Rakah Quadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the nation of Israel. Shalom.